August and it's summer, but it's not really very nice at all. Today we're going to talk about the canter transition, because actually quite a few people have asked us if there's any sort of exercise that can help them with getting their canter. So some people are finding right lead difficult to pick up, and some people are finding left lead difficult to pick up. And if you watch the video that we did about 2 weeks ago, it's about straightening the horse, and actually that's really where you need to start, is by straightening the horse. I'm going to take you through some exercises with Jack. Now Jack didn't used to be able to pick up right lead canter, and it actually took us quite a long time to establish the right lead canter. I basically had to get him to be able to move out of his right shoulder, so he had to learn shoulder in and leg yield and all those exercises to then help him get into the canter. Now he can canter left and right quite easily now, but in this video as well you'll see me riding Darcy, who's a 5-year-old Connemara, and she's super, and you'll see the trot work looks amazing. And then when we go to canter right she can just about pick up, canter left she struggles with. Now I've left it really messy so that you can see that we all do actually struggle, and then in a few weeks time I'll get that videoed again for you and just show you with those exercises how you'll improve those canter transitions, and not to be disheartened if your horse is finding it difficult to pick up right lead or left lead canter. You have to work out what your horse's dominant shoulder is, because it's usually mostly down to that the shoulder's in the way. So for Jack it was his right, for Darcy the Connemara pony it's her left shoulder. And I'll just run through some exercises and just show you a couple of canter transitions with Jack. Okay, so I always start with a bit of shoulder in, and I'm just going to do that up the long side here. And I'll just start with a circle first. Make sure he's around my inside leg. And then into the shoulder in. So right shoulder in, particularly for him, is quite important, because it weights the left shoulder a little bit more, because although we now have the canter, the right shoulder is still a little bit more dominant, so we have to keep kind of working on it, keeping him supple. So this makes the right shoulder hollow by doing the shoulder in this way, and it puts a little bit more weight into the left shoulder. And the right shoulder in again, and you're always thinking about shifting the centre of mass back, because if he's too in his shoulder there's no way you're going to get into canter with any horse. So it's really important that you teach them how just to shift that centre of mass back. So another good exercise is to, well, for Jack, to get him a little bit more in the left shoulder, is to leg yield him away from your right leg into your left rein, and that encourages him to be hollow through this right shoulder and step a little bit more into the left shoulder. So if your horse is struggling to pick up right canter, this is what you would do. If it's struggling to pick up left canter, you just reverse that onto the other rein. And then the other exercise is to do the travers. Try and keep the right shoulder hollow, work on the suppleness through the bend. are the exercises that are going to help you with the straightness of your horse. So the other little tip I would give you if you're struggling to get into your canter is don't spend too long in your trot before you ask for canter, because what tends to happen is the horse gets more and more into its shoulder. So you need a lot of transitions that are going to keep shifting the centre of mass back to keep the horse out of its shoulder. So if you're going to canter, I would, if your horse is struggling, and do this for a little while, is walk a few steps, trot a few steps, pick up the canter, because then the centre of mass is back enough. Lots of transitions and not too much trot for too long. So you trot, you pick up canter, and this was really difficult for Jack, right canter, and you can still see it is a little bit tricky for him. So left canter was always easier for Jack because his shoulder was a bit smaller, it wasn't in the way. But still, so that the canter doesn't get too long and flat, you definitely don't want to be trotting for too long before you ask for the canter. And as they get stronger, then of course you can keep the trot going for a little bit longer. But the transitions really are the key to getting a good uphill feeling in your canter. The actual canter looks better this way as well because the shoulder is a little bit smaller and doesn't get in the way. Boy. This is Rue and Vicky, and Rue has also had a bit of a problem, well, A with going forwards and B with picking up right canter. So we're just using that leg yield exercise here to encourage him to step a little bit more into his left shoulder. He's quite a tricky horse and you can't put too much pressure on. You have to sort of make him kind of feel like it was his idea a little bit. So then that helps sort of encourage him to take a little bit more weight in that left shoulder. So using those same sort of exercises, which we've been doing with him for a while, he wouldn't go forwards at all. He was quite stuck because he was so dominant and very weak behind. He also had a little problem with ulcers as well. And so using all these exercises has helped us get him a little bit more forwards because he's a little bit straighter. That's easier for him to go forwards. So if we pop him up into trot now, just think about the pole and the neck being a little bit longer. You'll see he just wants to sort of be a little bit negative. If you change the rein for me, come back onto a circle around me. So when we come to the circle around me, that's more likely it's going to fall in. You already can see that as she makes the turn. That right shoulder leaning a little bit. And of course, if that's doing that in the trot, when you ask for canter, that's going to exacerbate that problem. You can already see him still leaning a little bit into that shoulder. Yeah, forwards with the neck a little bit more, a bit lower with the pole. Pick up the left canter in a moment and we're going to do some walk, trot, trot, walk transitions this way. And the issue this way will be that the right shoulder will fall out of the circle. So you've really got to make sure that you kind of stick to a shape or a 20-metre circle so that you don't start falling out and actually don't even realise that you've already started falling out. Yeah. And just whenever you're ready, have a little walk, trot, trot, walk, and then up into the canter. And there he wants to pull out the right shoulder. Yeah. So if you pop him up to trot and do a trot walk transition, so trot, walk, trot, and then canter. So again, you're not in that trot for too long. Try and push that neck out a little bit, yeah, a little bit further. And there he goes into that right shoulder. And that will be what he does. And there he very nicely picks up the wrong canter. But we could see that was going to kind of happen because he was already going through the right shoulder. And it nicely demonstrates what a lot of us are all going through when we can't get the correct lead. So we're going to do some walk, trot, trot, walk transitions. So we try and get him a little bit in front of our leg, lengthen that frame a little bit, and you can see that he still slightly wants to lean in on that right shoulder a little bit, so you have to make the circle a bit more of a square this way so that it doesn't become that he falls in too much. And then if you do a couple of walk trot transitions, you help push the centre of mass back, and then you try your canter transition. But trotting for too long, as I've said before, just pushes them too much into their shoulder. So by doing that more of a square, you help with that shoulder.